Welcome back to Today I Choose. I'm very grateful for your being here. This is Cherie, Doyen. And we've been really dissecting or walking through the actions required for creating what we call today PTSD, right? Now, I know many of you are walking around with mental illness diagnosis, physical illness diagnosis, right? And diagnosis in every direction, right? So many of my clients are, have a string of diagnosis the length of their arm and are on 10, 12, 15 medications, right? Which are all Band-Aids. We have to know that. There's no pill that's going to fix you, right? What we have to do is understand what you're doing and undo it. Retrace your steps. It's like you're in a maze or a house of funny mirrors, and we have to find what is distorted and out of place and causing constriction, right? So that we can get you out of there. Now, what is the difference between mental illness, physical illness, and the most amazing gifts, magic? What's the difference, right? As some people are walking around seeing magical creatures and seeing dimensions and being touted as being, the most amazing seers on the planet, here you and I was, and so many of us are trapped in a frame of crazy, right? We're trapped in an illusion of fear. So everything we're seeing and experiencing is explained through that lens, through that vocabulary. Well, this person over here is speaking about having experiences with the gods and their guides and the fairies. This person over here is being, visited by spirits and demons and, and elves and fairies, and they're being tormented, right? Because they're afraid. What if there was no fear, right? Could it be possible that our amazingness is being interpreted through the lens of what non-magical people experience, right? And they're going to be scared to death. But I have to say for myself, my journey began when I was so young. I was 6 months old. I just viewed it all the same, right? Until the world started telling me that it wasn't normal, right? But today, I see the dimensions, I see the choices, I see the beings. It's all the same, right? Because the more information we're accessing, the more we're going to be able to see and interpret and interact with, right? Science says that the average person is bringing into this funnel of the wisdom circuit, our awareness, 400 billion bits of information. And out of that 400 billion bits of information, the average human being is interacting with 100, right? So you've got the majority of the world interacting with 100 bits of information, and you've got these kids, these very magical kids, having these experiences, these adults having these amazing experiences, and within that framework, it's misunderstood as illness, right? And fear. Right? Because most often our experiences were catapulted by fear, our need to escape, our need to survive, right? It behooved me as a child to be able to hear your thoughts, because words, I learned at a very young age, were very inadequate and were the least trustworthy modes of communication, right? So did I know that's what I was doing? I knew I could finish your sentences faster than you, right? Now, am I unique? No, right? Or there's the brilliance of the child who can see 15 minutes into the future so that they can be prepared for what that looks like. What condition is dad in as he's pulling in the driveway? Can you sneak in and see? Right? Now, we have to be clear that as adults, if we have these gifts and we've been cultivating them, the world sees us as medical intuitives or clairvoyance, clairaudio, right? Spatial clairvoyance, being able to see in the next room, premonitions. And yet, right, when a kid is struggling and they're in a state of fear, and from the outside looking in, people are alarmed, right? And they're putting labels on that. It very quickly becomes taboo to share what your true experiences are, right? Instead, it's like, Cherie, don't finish people's sentences. Cherie, don't stop walking like so-and-so, you know, and on and on. I was working with a group who, they were amazing humans, and they ran a home for foster kids, and they were individual homes, and there was a little girl that was extraordinarily gifted, and she could declare, you know, 15 minutes, 20 minutes ahead what was going to happen, or who was going to show up at the gate, or, you know, if a phone call was going to come in, you know. And her caregivers were very alarmed, very alarmed. And I began asking questions. And finally, I asked, well, is she on the mark? Is she right? And she said, yeah, 98, 99% of the time, she's dead on. And I said, so what harm is it doing for her to have access to this information? Because probably in her regular life, it's been keeping her alive. In her regular life, it probably behooves her to be able to see 15, 20 minutes ahead to anticipate, you know, the experiences that were coming. And they stood back and were like, yeah, I never thought of it like that. Instead, they were afraid that she could do it, right? You know, it wasn't like she was making up stories. She was right every time, right? Because she had to have access to that information, right? And it kept her sharp, and it kept her aware, and it helped her survive. When we start closing doors on that information is when we become very vulnerable, and we lack discernment and clarity, and we're floating around between all these 6 timelines willy-nilly, right? We have no integrity around who we are, why we're here, and what we would like our next move to look like, right? But today, you get to choose, right? So keep that open mind and move forward tomorrow in a state of curiosity around, wow, what if I wasn't ill? What if? What if instead I'm brilliant, right? They didn't think Einstein was very smart either, the world, right? And who do you look to now in these days, these times of sameness? for that brilliant new thought, right? We need you. We need you awake. We need you activated. And we need your timeline cleaned up so you can live full out today, present time, operating clean and clear. So hop on that 30-minute freedom call and let's see what life can be for you, right? No coping, no managing, freedom. It's yours. PTSD is not a life sentence.